Right, welcome to the channel. Just a quick one. I just want to update everybody. I'm doing my first live. Just want to update people who have basically recently subscribed. Thank you very much for that. I want to talk about the Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic. I recently have uploaded a video and, well, a couple of videos, and I fell down this rabbit hole. And essentially, I've had some sort of negative comments myself, but whatever. I don't really care. I'm new, right? So who cares about that sort of stuff? But realistically, just want to talk about them and why I think they're so good. And I've already touched on, I believe that their opinions are good and what they like about cinema and what they feel is missing in modern cinema. But I feel like they get a bad rep online. I think there's obviously millions of fans. They're doing extremely well, but the bad rep that they're getting is essentially something that's very, very strange. I feel like people are trying to pretend that they're pushing sort of some narrative that they have or some bigotry that they have or something internalized, and they're pushing it out and claiming that they're sort of critical movie reviewers, so to speak. But it's just not the case, is it? They're just really good content creators, first and foremost. Secondly, they are good at critiquing movies and films and programs, but they both have unique sort of skills, right? I find them both very funny, both very different. They're both sort of nerds like myself and like most of us that watch this stuff, right? So we're interested in what they say, but not only that, they have their own expertise. One writes books, one used to own a comic book store. They have a lot of love and interest in either storytelling and creating good stories or comics themselves, right? And basically are experts in the lore and what's canon, what's not, and really want to protect the IPs that they love, especially Gary. He talks about Doctor Who a lot. Not something I'm interested in myself. It's one of the few things I'm not interested in, and it's really interesting to get his thoughts and views because it seems like it's being destroyed like every other piece of content that's out there. And I really do feel like they have a really good voice and a great place here on YouTube. And I feel they're very unfairly judged on the platform by a lot of other content creators who are out here just trying to get obviously clicks and likes and things like that. So I just wanted to address it from my point of view. And I really do think their content's great. I'll continue to watch it. I'll continue to be a fan. Doesn't mean I agree with everything they say. Sometimes I do think they go too far. Sometimes I do think they lean a bit too much on the side of it's woke for being woke's sake when it's not. It's just maybe poor character writing. Maybe it's just a poor female lead in the, you know, in the movie, for example. It doesn't mean they've gone out of their way to create something that isn't really there. That's just my thoughts on them anyway. In terms of what I like about them, yeah, there's so much to like. What is there that you don't like when you like the good content that they're producing? Their views, to be honest, align with a lot of people over the age, I guess, of 25. Everybody who's been interested in good cinema, good movies. We all know what we like from our films, right? And we know what we like from our programs that we've been watching, the IPs that we're interested in. They understand what it takes to build good stories. And quite frankly, that's not happening, is it? Here on YouTube, we're hearing a lot more about the different films that are basically being destroyed with poor casting, poor writing. The directors are taking easy routes, cost cutting. And it's all because of certain things like the streaming platforms, for example. It's a rat race just to get content out on these streaming platforms, which means everything is essentially just poor. And we're suffering. And it's a bit like YouTube with these thumbnails and clickbait. We're all watching these programs that we love because they're the IPs that we're really interested in, and it's completely different. Whether the casting's completely different and very diverse when it doesn't need to be, doesn't respect the lore, the writing of what we've loved and what we've paid interest in. Especially, for example, me, Lord of the Rings, love that. I enjoyed The Hobbit. I know it's not particularly good, but The Rings of Power was terrible. No one could watch that. I think everybody who's a fan really struggled to watch that, and they've made some great videos on them. And I agree with almost everything they've said about that particular IP, which means I obviously trust what they say, and other IPs I completely agree with as well. So it's one of those things. I lean very much on the side of their sort of trail of thought. I don't like certain YouTubers who make a big song and a dance about everything, and it's not really actually true about what they're saying. I think overall, I'm sort of more interested in quality over quantity. I'd prefer to wait a few years for good films, good movies, good series, rather than what we have now, which is every other week there's something coming out. For example, series are just bumped and lumped onto our streaming platforms, and you can watch them all within a week, right? They're all there. And to be honest, that doesn't produce quality. It just produces bums on seats, watching screen, and we're not getting the quality we want. We're not getting the standard of, I guess, content we were used to when we were younger. Although we waited a lot longer for it, we had more patience because it took a while to create good things. Whereas now it's just spinning out factory farming, rat race. It's not very good. And that leads me to tell you about YouTube. Obviously, I'm very new to YouTube. And it's quite negative, isn't it? So for every good content creator, you've got someone who's trying to pull them down. And I don't need to go into names; they're out there. You can search them up. There's people who are trying to poo-poo on Nerdrotic, on Critical Drinker, Hill Meets Face, Mauler. You name it. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of it going on, and I don't know why that's happening. I think maybe they're using it for views and clicks and what have you. But ultimately, it's not really a battle you want to pick because these channels are quite small, right? And they want to grow, I assume, and they all have like 6,000 followers maybe or subscribers, and they're having a go and digging at content that these massive content creators are actually creating. And I don't know, I feel like it's cheap, right? We can always moan and dig at other people. We can always I can analyze anything the Critical Drinker does, right? And spend hours editing what he said wrong, what hasn't he looked into quite deep enough. We can all pick at mistakes. Someone can look at what I'm doing this live now. They can go through it with a fine comb and say all the different things that I've said wrong, how I've said it, my punctuation, everything, my English, someone can really pick it apart, how I'm dressed, the painting behind me. You can moan about everything, and at the end of the day, nothing is going to be perfect. But to slander these content creators in this negative way, I think is really, really strange, when the platform really needs collaboration. And actually, maybe live debates would be the best way to go about it. So if people disagree with each other, get on a live stream, get on a chat, start talking, involve the community. And that's one of the things that I want to do, right? So hopefully I can build up some sort of subscriber base and build up the channel so we can have a better community. So I can invite people on and we can actually have a chat and we can talk about our differences and what we like about certain things and what we don't like. And do we feel there's an agenda behind Disney or Hollywood? Do we feel that these particular programs are woke, or are they just a sign of the times? Because I've said this and I'll continue to say it. If you go and watch movies from the 20s, the 30s, 40s, 50s, etc., they're totally different to the 80s in the way they talk, the way it's filmed, the people's roles within the movies, whether they be men, women, whatever. And then from the 80s to 90s, all the way till now, right? It's continuously changing and it will always change. And movies have always changed. So to suggest that is changing just for the sake of it, I don't believe that's 100% correct. What I do think is that we're leaning more towards essentially diversity casting and basically trying to create this sort of, I guess, content for modern audiences. But it doesn't work, does it? Because like I've said, in the 80s, in the 90s, did people really think Arnie, Sylvester Stallone, did they really sort of think, oh, I can see myself in these people? Yeah, these Mr. Universe, for example. No man felt sort of any resemblance with Arnold when he was on screen. No one did. But yet we all watched it. We all loved it because that's what we wanted, right? We wanted films. We wanted to see these guys kick ass. We wanted to see it on screen. It was great. It's the great 80s stuff that we liked. Whereas now what you have is they're trying to make content for modern audience, like we keep saying, but ultimately you don't need to have hobbits that are of a different color to what they have been portrayed in the lore and what Tolkien has written. You don't need to cast certain characters in a different way. It just needs to be the IPs that people love and respect, cast it that way. Yeah, people don't need to feel any sort of resemblance to these characters. Like I've said, the 80s, no one felt like Arnie. No one thought, oof, yeah, I'm just like that guy. No one did, because no one was like that guy. That's why you watched him. Yeah, when I watched Blade, I never thought, oof, Blade's a black guy. That's really hard for me to sort of get my head around. I can't watch that show. I can't relate to it. No, I loved it. Blade's great. Do you know what I mean? When I watched Lethal Weapon, I didn't think, oh, I'm a big fan of this, not a fan of this because of this. No, I liked all of it. It doesn't matter about the diversity of the cast. For me, it's all about the actual casting itself of the person, the character, the story behind them. Like, when I think about it and I look at the 80s and the 90s, all the films that I like are diverse. And that word wasn't flung around. And the diverse isn't just where they're from, it's the characters. So you look at Predator, the whole team in Predator is diverse. Yes, they're all men, but they're all from completely different places, all look completely different, and offer so much different things to the storyline. So that is diversity as a whole. And then, of course, you're added into the you have the South American girl who comes in later on. Again, something different. Then you move it over to Alien. Look at the team on the ship when we start. Okay, the team that's working there and looking to sort of basically make their way off the Nostromo, right? They're there, and it's completely diverse. Once again, you've got men, you've got women, you've got black guys, white women, whatever. You've got it all. No one asked or wanted anything. So I'm just looking at the comments there. Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? People want stupid concepts. I don't know why. People think that you need to feel and look like the other people. I just think it's total nonsense. You just need good characters. If it's a good story, no matter what color, what type of person they are, you can relate to their challenge that they've got to overcome. I'm nothing like Sarah Connor, but I was super invested in Sarah Connor in Terminator. I'm super invested in Ripley and her story. She basically makes the whole Alien franchise, right? Without her, and that storyline, it kind of goes down, and it has done, and we've seen it. It's not been the same. So I'm not really sure how it's going to be fixed, because I think creativity's gone, especially in Hollywood. I think when we talk about creativity, it's not just what they're making. They're just taking the IPs, remaking them, changing up the casting, but they're kind of making it word for word the same, or they're trying to change it again for today's audience. But it's the dialogue doesn't hit as well. It's not acted as well. It's been lazy, and basically you're just recreating the same thing but making it worse. And I think it's never been about, for me, what the character looks like. It's always just been about the character themselves. And I think that is where we're getting the issue here in modern society. I think there's too much emphasis on the look of the character rather than the story. One of my favorite films is The Green Book. It's a modern film, right? And it's about, I think everyone knows what it's about. It's about The Green Book, which is about black people back in the day, hotels that they could stay in, right? And it's about a African American guy who happens to be gay, and it's about a Italian mobster from New York, a doorman, right? And they go down into the deep south, and it's an amazing story. I know it's based off a true story, but it's just unbelievable, just the way that you kind of resonate with both of these characters, because they are so different. We've all been in environments like this where you're with people that are different and you're not sure what the vibe's like, what are your common things of interest, but you make it work, and they became great friends, and the story is so compelling. And yes, he's a black guy, yes, he's gay, yes, there's racism, and there's loads of great messages in it, but it's just such a great film, and you can sort of relate to it no matter what color, what creed, whatever. And that's what good storytelling does. Whereas you flip it around and you want to watch a Marvel film like Wakanda Forever, for example, and you get the same underlying messages essentially, or slightly different messages but along the same tone, but that's not where you go to consume that kind of content and get that kind of message. Do you know what I mean? So I want to watch films that have sort of historical facts if I want to watch that kind of stuff like 12 Years a Slave. I want to watch it. I want to really sort of immerse myself with what's going on, really understand what's happened. And that kind of film hits you very hard. Whereas Wakanda Forever is a Marvel film. You're there for escapism, right? You're there to watch it, have a good time, pay your money, sit down and just be wowed by what's on the screen, not have this politics constantly thrown at you and essentially not giving you any escapism. So you're basically paying for some message to be thrown at you in the face. And there's always been messaging in films. Yeah, always. There's always been a, like, whether it be subtle, whether it be directly at you. And I think it's the militant way that modern films are doing it. It gives you nothing. There's no like thinking. You never leave the cinema anymore and think, oh, and have a different opinion to someone else. It's being told for you. They're telling you what the film is about. They're telling you what it represents, and it's very, very clear, very, very obvious, and there's no tact to it. It's classless, right? Whereas back in the day, you'd watch a film and you go, I wonder what that means. Oh, I got this from that film. That was my takeaway. And they're like, no, absolutely not. This is what I felt about this film. It was very sort of subjective, and Tarantino's the best at that kind of stuff, right? Making films where you come up with your own conclusion. You've both watched the same film, but you have very different ideas of what was in the suitcase, for example. Whereas nowadays, a film is made and it will tell you what's in the suitcase. It will be whatever, and then there's no mystery or intrigue to it. And then, what are you arguing about? What are you talking about at the end? You will know what the film is all about. So yeah, I do think we lack that creativity. I just want to address lastly, because this isn't a long stream, as you know, I'm new to the platform, right? So it's not a long stream. Let me just quickly get to the comments there. Decided to become a church. Yeah, I agree. I think Hollywood has become that. Yes, it's just completely, it's using its force to really portray messages that we just don't need in Hollywood, where we're there to watch film, right, and escape. But yet, as you're saying, it's very much, it's very obvious what they're doing, and we don't want that with our films. We really would prefer to rewind, go back to 80s and 90s, where we got the film. There may have been some politics there, but actually we're not really interested, especially with old school films where Arnie's involved that everybody quite likes. I think they can be a little bit sort of repetitive and action-packed, and that's not everyone's cup of tea. But Die Hard, for example, another great film. There's no underlying message, really. It's just an underdog story. It's great. It's kind of relatable, but not really. We're just there to have a great time. There isn't really much to it. The plot is the plot. It's self-explanatory, but they don't have to explain it to you. And that's kind of what I like. Do you know what I mean? No one goes in there and think it. Someone goes in there can come out and tell you what it represented. But it didn't represent that, did it? But who knows? Who knows what it represents? It's just an action film, but it doesn't tell you what it's representing, whereas today's films do. And it's it's really sad. And lastly, I guess from my side, I'm looking to build up a community on the platform. I want to be very inclusive of what I'm doing. Over time, I want to have a show where it's large enough to have a proper live chat. Look, I've got 3 comments here, all from the same person. So I'm looking to build something up where everyone gets involved. And I think I want to have conversation and debate with people who think very differently to me. So people who think films today are better than they were in the 90s. I would love to have that conversation where it's not sort of, at each other's throats, where you're not fighting each other, where you're not, like being aggressive. You can disagree, and that's completely fine. People have disagreed from like basically forever. It's always been a thing, right? Whether it be religion, they don't like this religion, they create another one, right? Whatever it is, people have disagreed, but you can still get along. And I think a platform like YouTube is here for different opinions. And like I've said, I love Critical Drinker. I love Nerdrotic. But I do think they can be challenged more. I do think, you can sometimes call some of the things that they say lazy, but very, very rarely. Most of the time, they're spot on, in my opinion. Now, if you disagree, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Let's have that discussion. Why do you disagree? Why is Doctor Who, for example, better now? as I said, Doctor Who's not my thing, but why is it better now? You know, if you can tell me why it's better with a Doctor that was a female or a black character, or why that's relevant, why that's important, what's the message behind that, and things like that, then let's have that discussion. But if you can't, I think we can agree that sometimes IPs can be ruined by people's forward-thinking ideas, but all they're doing is thinking forward and not thinking about the people that have made the series popular. Right. And I think that is where we all have the problem. Our IPs are being absolutely destroyed by people who are forward thinking, right? They definitely are. They do want a new audience. They want more and more people to feel involved with whatever IP they've got. However, for example, making a character like the Little Mermaid black, what's the point? That doesn't do anything, does it? It doesn't change anyone's opinion. You don't suddenly get new fans. What you're doing is just all the fans of the Little Mermaid are like, hold on a minute, this used to be a white redhead lady or girl, and it doesn't make sense, right? And it's just like, you're all of a sudden like, you're like, I don't understand why they've done that. It's not a problem, but why have they done that? And they've done that to send some sort of message. And of course, it's a character that doesn't actually exist. So I do get all that. Just like hobbits don't actually exist. So if you cast them as a black person, what's the problem? And it's like, that isn't the problem. The problem isn't the casting. The problem is it's just shoehorned in an environment where it wouldn't make sense for the person to be that color, right? So I think that's kind of where we're at. And I think, yeah, I think that's kind of what we're all thinking about, and that's where the issues are, especially here on YouTube. And I think that's where the biggest sort of problems come, and people just start arguing and having essentially fights on YouTube, which I find very strange. I find it really, really strange that people are not allowed different opinions. Me personally, I think everybody's entitled to any opinion that they want. If they think modern movies now are better, fantastic, because someone's got to watch them. Me personally, I do not think they're better for so many different reasons. Most of them are due to the fact that they're just shortcut on everything. The acting's not the same. The quality of the action heroes or the movie stars, just not where they used to be. The charisma on screen isn't there. And most of the time, people are just put in certain environments. It doesn't really make sense. The writing doesn't really make sense to me. So that's kind of where I'm at. And look, it'd be great if more people can follow the journey. So look, if you do like the content, do smash the like, and obviously subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I want to get in a position where I can add more value. So look, this was just a quick one. And of course, keep tuning into Nerd Biz, and thank you very much, and thank you for the comments. They're very, very nice. I haven't had a chance to go through them because I can't read and talk at the same time. I'm pretty terrible, to be honest. Something I need to work on, but I'll have more videos coming soon on reason why I think modern movies suck. It's going to be different to what The Drinker does. Yes, thank you very much, and it's good to have you on the journey. See, I can read that one, but yeah, that's what I'm looking to do. I'll get more and more quality content out. I'm looking to improve the videos and that kind of thing, but it will take time for me, because it's never perfect when you start, right? I've got a job, I've got things going on, but yeah, I'm always keen to talk about my movies and films that I like and that I enjoy. So look, peace out, catch you in the next one, and yeah, I look forward to spending more time with you people. Peace.